Hey folks, welcome to Queen Storytellers. I'm your host, David Lawson. This is a show presented by the good folks at the Queen's Theater. It has, in every single episode, 5 writers and performers from various disciplines of writing and performing coming on here and performing true stories about things that actually happened to them. This is episode 5 of 10. It's the halfway point of this series. So if you just happen to stumble upon this video and you like what you're seeing, then there's plenty of episodes both for you to go watch and for you to look forward to in the future. It's like the perfect halfway point. If you're just discovering Queen Storytellers right now, then this is the perfect episode to be discovering it because you got plenty to watch and you got plenty to look forward to. But regardless, whenever you found this series, we're happy you're here. We're happy you're watching. So let's get into the 5 storytellers that we're going to be hearing from on this episode of Queen Storytellers. First up is Anna Suzuki. She is a series regular on a lot of TV shows. She's Gotta Have It, High Maintenance, New Amsterdam. She is going to be performing a story about being the star of a reality show in Japan. After Anna Suzuki is Tracy Sagara, who has been a winner of the Moth Grand Slam. Tracy's going to be performing a story about navigating some pretty tough roads with your in-laws when you are in an interfaith marriage. After Tracy is Mark Pagan. Mark Pagan has been nominated for a Webby Award for his podcast, Other Men Need Help. Mark is going to be performing a story of having a moment in your life when you are considering polyamory. Next up is Cynthia Shaw, who has performed her one-woman show Velvet Determination all across the nation and all around the world. She's going to be telling a story of showing up to a pretty fancy affair with a homemade gift and being nervous if, this homemade and fancy would kind of clash together. A little Keeping Up with the Joneses type of story. Our final performer this week is Carrie Nelson, who has worked as a documentary researcher for productions that have been on Showtime and CNN, and she's going to be performing a story of wanting to commit suicide and grabbing the phone, calling EMS. All right, let's get to the 5 performers we have for you this week on Queen Storytellers. Before we do, though, just want to let you know, you like what you see today, go to queenstheater.org, where you can find all kinds of other great programming from Queen's Theater, including previous episodes of this show. You can also go on Facebook to Queen's Theater, that's theater with an R-E, and you can get updates from them there on Facebook. And we hope you love what you saw today. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the perfect episode to get into the show, but yeah, we're at the halfway point. Episode 5 with 5 more to come. I'm your host, David Lawson. So excited, as I always am, to present these stories and these great performers for you today. So let's get to it. Enjoy Queen's Storytellers.
So I was born and raised in Japan by a Japanese mom and a Jewish dad. And even though my dad is American, he's like a classic New York Jew. He looks exactly like George Costanza from Seinfeld. But he speaks fluent Japanese because he spent a lot of time there. So growing up, I never really spoke English. And then I moved to the US when I was like 12. So I learned to speak English by the time I was like 14, 15. And so I never really felt like Japanese enough or American enough. This sort of who am I, this existential crisis was like a big question mark looming over my head my entire life. And I don't know, I don't know anything about the 90s because I wasn't here for it. So I don't know what Rugrats is. I don't know what Blossom is. I don't know if Blossom is like a big 90s thing. I don't know. I just don't know anything about the 90s. And so as I became an adult, I was like, I want to be seen. I feel like there are people out there, there must be people out there who feel the way that I do, and I want to be seen. And when I became an adult, I realized I can use my comedy skills and my filmmaking skills. And I was like, why don't I make a web series in Tokyo about me, about my life, a biracial person growing up in Tokyo. Because obviously, when you're having an existential crisis, make a web series, right? So, so my boyfriend and I, we got our gear together. We hired people off Japanese Craigslist. We got a crew together. I contacted locations. Like, I set up this whole week of filming in Tokyo. This was going to be my Citizen Kane, and I was going to put it on YouTube, right? So we get to Narita Airport in Tokyo, and I'm excited. But then in the back of my head, I hear, "Why did you come to Japan?" Like, I start doubting myself. No one's gonna care about this story. No one's gonna be able to relate. And then I turn around and I see my boyfriend like being interviewed by this TV crew, and they're going, "Why did you come to Japan?" So it wasn't in my head. I turn around, I rush over to them, and I was like, "Is everything okay? He's with me." And then they were like, "Oh yeah, we are with the reality show, Why Did You Come to Japan?" And so turns out there's this producer and a translator and a camera guy. Turns out they are with this huge Japanese reality show called Why Did You Come to Japan? And it's hosted by this super famous comedy duo called Banana Man, obviously, because Japan. Um, and they were like, "Oh, you're making a web series about your life." They were like, "Can we follow you around for a week?" And I thought, "Oh my God, this is perfect." Like, they're going to make a show about me making a show about me. It's going to be layered. People are going to see this. I'm going to be seen. This is exactly what I wanted. So I said, "Yes, of course." So from that day on, this TV crew followed me and my boyfriend around everywhere we went to Tokyo. So I had this episode idea in my mind for my show where like I would go sing karaoke and try to sing this J-pop song, but I don't know the lyrics and I don't feel Japanese enough. So my crew is in this tiny karaoke room, and then the TV crew is filming the crew filming me. And then we go to a cat cafe. We go to this like dingy alleyway in Tokyo. Everywhere they followed us. And then the last day, my boyfriend and I really wanted to go to this place called the Fox Village, which is where like free roaming foxes hanging out, very Japanese. But it was 4 hours north of Tokyo. And I was like, "There's no way they're following us 4 hours north of Tokyo." And they were like, "Can we follow you 4 hours north of Tokyo?" So this TV crew, they rent like this really comfy production van for us. They get a driver, but they were like, "We want to make it seem like you spontaneously came up with this idea. So let's get a shot of you two getting off a train, walking out of the train station." They set up this whole story that, that we didn't have in mind. So we get to this fox village, and they're directing me. They're saying, "It's a baby fox. Be more excited. Be more surprised." And by the end of this shoot of the show they were shooting, of the show I was shooting for myself, I couldn't remember which version of me was me anymore. I was like hamming it up for the TV show, but I was like acting for my YouTube show. And then I also just wanted to hang out with my boyfriend in Japan. But I had to remind myself, like, this is a really good opportunity. The Japanese people are going to see me. I'm going to be seen, and I'm going to be accepted by both Japanese people and American people. And this show is going to help me find myself. So we go back to New York. We come back to New York, and we kind of had a rough idea of when the show was going to air because it's a really big show. And so, we counted down the days, and then the day finally came, but Japan's 14 hours ahead. So we were going to sleep and then wake up. And I assume I was going to wake up to fanfare from friends and family that they saw the show. So we go to sleep, and then we wake up. I check my phone, nothing. And I thought, that's weird. My episode should have aired. I was like, "Babe, is the Wi-Fi working?" I refresh, nothing. So I thought, okay, maybe they pushed it a week. I emailed the producer that followed us around the entire week, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? Did it air this week?" And he goes, they decided to shelf the episode. They didn't give me an explanation. It's probably because I was not very excited about foxes. They didn't. I assume that was the reason. And then the producer goes, I don't know if we talked about this, but my wife is actually not Japanese and she's from Europe. And following you around, spending time with you made me realize that I'm going to raise two young biracial children in Japan. And I have to be more mindful of their experience growing up biracial in Japan, because they're not going to have the same experience that I have as a Japanese man in Japan. And I realized that I wasn't seen the way I thought I wanted to by the viewers of Why Did You Come to Japan, hosted by Banana Man. But I was seen by someone, and a Japanese man, a straight Japanese man, for, and I helped him even like shape the way he wants to raise his children. So I realized that like even now today, that was like 7 years ago. Even today, I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but I don't need an arbitrary deadline, dictated by a Japanese reality show hosted by a comedy duo named Banana Man.
I'm on an express bus from the Bronx heading into Manhattan to go wedding dress shopping with my future mother-in-law. And I'm not looking forward to this because she and I are not exactly friends. Rita and I come from very different worlds. She is a waitress and a secretary, this, Italian from the Bronx, and a Jehovah's Witness, this strange religion I know nothing about. I'm a middle-class Jew from Long Island. So when I start dating her son, a lapsed Jehovah's Witness, who she dearly would like to come back into the fold, she and I kind of circle each other warily, and we're polite, but cold. But when Fred and I decide to get married, I realize that I need to make some kind of effort to get to know this woman who's going to become a big part of my life. So here we are. And the ride down to Manhattan is very uncomfortable. She and I have never been alone in a room together, so we don't know what to say to each other. But when we get to the bridal salon and I start trying on all these wedding gowns, she tells me that I look beautiful in every single one, which is a complete lie, but the sweetest of lies. And I feel myself starting to just soften towards her a little bit. But then when we get back from the Bronx and it's time to say goodbye, she suddenly grabs me and she gives me a hug. And it's the kind of hug that tells me how much this must have meant to her, that I reached out to her and asked her to do this with me. And that breaks open a place in my heart for her, and we start to become real friends. And over the next 2 years, Rita and I bond over the two things that Rita loves the most: eating and shopping. Nobody can devour a lobster like Rita Romeo. And this woman loves to shop. She doesn't care whether it's a dollar store, a hardware store, although dollar stores are her favorites. She just loves shopping. But then in 2000, when my twins are born, she becomes my savior. I am so overwhelmed by these two creatures and new motherhood. And every Friday, we're now living on Long Island, every Friday afternoon, she comes out from the Bronx and she spends the weekend helping us with the babies. And every Friday, when I hear that screen door squeak, I think, oh my God, like the cavalry has arrived and I can finally breathe. And she absolutely adores her granddaughters, but she is not your typical cookie baking grandma. She's a Sicilian from the Bronx. And one day when the girls are about 2 or 3, I hear her talking to them in the other room. And I hear her say, "Oh, I love you so much. I just want to punch you." But she also has her tender side. And once when we go to visit them in the Bronx, I'm looking around their apartment and I'm noticing that she has been stealing from my daughters, like little things, just like a stuffed animal or a barrette. And I can't for the life of me figure out why, until it dawns on me. She literally wants something of theirs to hold on to when she can't be with them. One year, when the girls are about 4, I send out holiday cards every year. This is before the internet, so this is a way to show off your children. And so I send out holiday cards. They're usually just generic season's greetings cards. But the girls are starting to get a little bit older, and I'm thinking about sending them to Hebrew school. And so I decide to send out a Hanukkah card. And I don't send it to Rita because witnesses don't celebrate holidays, but I do send it to Fred's aunt, who lives near them in the Bronx and likes to display photos on her mantle. Well, about a week later, my husband Fred gets a call from Rita, his mother, and she tells him that since we've decided to raise our daughters as Jews, that she can no longer be part of our lives. And my first reaction is shock, because she and I have never discussed religion. I thought it best not to go there. So I had no idea she might feel this way. And then I'm hurt because this is me, like we've become so close. How could she do this to me? And then I get angry because this has to be the most anti-Semitic thing that anybody has ever said to me in my entire life. And this is my family. But then I think, you know what? She's in shock. She'll get over it. She'll calm down. She'll call me and apologize, and everything will be fine. And so I wait. But after 4 weeks of waiting, it's clear. She's not calling. And so then I dig in and I tell my husband, you know what, if she cannot accept us and how we're going to raise our children, then I don't want her in my life, and I'm done. And he agrees with me. And we don't talk to them. And the months go by. Well, about 8 or 9 months later, a new dollar store opens up in my neighborhood. And I think of Rita. And I just get this urge to call her. And the urge is so strong that one day I just pick up the phone and I dial the number. And I have no idea what I'm going to say. And she picks up on the first ring. Hi, I say. It's Tracy. Hi, she says. I miss you, I say. I miss you too, she says. And just like that, it's over. We never discuss it. We just step over that time in our lives as if it never happened. And over the next 7 years, Rita becomes a second mother to me. In 2011, Rita passes away. And I miss her. I miss her every day. But I think back now, and I think about what we almost missed. Like that time when the girls are 5 and they had their first and only ballet recital, where they proved they are much more adept at pratfalls than graceful pirouettes. Or that time when they were 8 and we all sat around the fireplace and told each other ghost stories. And you know I would have been justified all those years in keeping Rita out of my life. What she did was hurtful, it was cruel, and it was wrong. But in the end, I decided I didn't want to stand on my principles if it meant I had to stand there all alone. At the end of her life, Rita was in hospice, and I went to visit her because it was so important to me to have a moment alone with her and let her know how much I loved her and how much she meant to me. And so I do. And then she tries to say something back, but she's wearing an oxygen mask. And then all of a sudden, alarm bells go off, nurses rush in, and they rush me out. And so the moment is gone, and she passes away the next day. So I don't know what she wanted to tell me, but I'd like to think that it was some variation of, I love you so much. I just want to punch you. Thank you.
So they're not official rules, but there are things I would advise friends not to do when a friend of theirs breaks up, because this has happened to me and they bug the hell out of me. There's like 3 things that I found are super common when you're an adult and you break up with somebody that friends tend to say. One of those is that everything happens for a reason, which I can sort of get behind. I'm like, okay, that's pacifying enough. The other is you break up with somebody, they say, oh, you'll meet somebody when you're least expecting it. I was like, yeah, but that doesn't help me right now. It's nice sentiment. The thing that really bugs me, that super bugs me as I've gotten older, is going through a breakup and a friend saying, well, you just need to get laid, which drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And it's not that I'm a Pollyanna or anything like that, but basically when a friend says you just need to get laid, what I think they're saying is like, I'm done talking about your ex-girlfriend. And I don't have a problem with what other people do in their private lives. Like I'm sure there's some of you that, you know, if a friend said to you, like you just need to get laid, you would go and do that and be casual and have fun and everything like that. But for me, if you and I were to have sex, you're probably going to meet my family. I am not casual about it at all. Uh, it's not a proud label, but I would call myself a serial monogamist. For me, it's like a scarlet letter. And this was what was happening. I had just broken up with a woman that I was dating for 4 years named Carol. And it was heartbreaking. I honestly thought we were going to get married. And the breakup was more or less fine. You know, we both were just going in different directions in our lives. And I was moaning, I was walking around New York City, I was dealing with all this stuff. And my friends were saying this to me, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something here. And I did the thing that a lot of us do when we go through a breakup is it's sort of like an immediate step where it's like, all right, I'm going to take a step back and make a massive inventory and change in my life. And so I added up the years that I'd been in a relationship from when I turned into an adult until this breakup, and only been in a few relationships, but they had added up to 15 years, 15 solid years of being in a relationship. It was like a quinceañera of monogamy. And with my friends telling me to just get laid, I'm like, you know what's going to happen here? It's one of two things. You know, I'm just going to get laid. Actually, it's not even one of two things. I'm going to end up in another relationship. And the other thing is that you're going to have to be sitting with me at Panera Bread, listening to me pine over what happened. So my option was to take their advice, or the second thing, which I could do, which I don't do, is I could just turn off desire. I could just become celibate. I could just do that for as long as possible, and that way I won't end up in this mess. And I thought this was possible. So the first month when I decided this plan was fine. I was going through relationship heartbreak. I barely had energy to eat. Second month, okay. Third month, fourth month, summer had started in New York City, and I don't care where you're listening to this from. And New York City is the most attractive place in the world, and it is rough during summer. And I was noticing this tendency to pay attention to things I wasn't normally paying attention to. So summer, of course, like people walking out, more skin exposed, and my eye was gravitating towards that a little bit. But other things, I would go to the bodega and I pay cash for something. And when the bodega guy would put change in my hand, just that the few seconds of touch, the hairs on my shoulders and my arms would just go up. Just go, oh, I was touched. Go to the barber, and I don't have a lot of hair. There's not a lot to cut. The cuts take super short amount of time, but he or she would finish, and I would say to them, like, cut a little bit more, not because I needed it, but just because I just wanted to feel something on my scalp. And I don't know if it was me feeling like I was getting to some sort of precipice, but I said there was something like I need to do something here. This is getting dangerous. I'm getting close to the point of needing to get laid, and I decided to target and go to the least erotic place in New York City, which is Lens Crafters. Now I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, but I need you all to stay with me here. Some of you may be maybe glasses or contact lens wearers. So I'm going to go into a little bit of a science rant here. I am, of course, wearing glasses now. When I wear contacts, I wear what are called gas permeable lenses. They are hard lenses. They are the equivalent to a lot of people of me saying to you, I watch movies on a Laserdisc player. They are very antiquated. Even optometrists are like, why are you still using these? And I don't know, but I wear them mostly because of astigmatism in my right eye. I find the prescription is better. And the reason I bring this up, the reason I go into this detail is my lens crafters, my optometrist appointments aren't necessarily ordinary just to get fitted for lenses. I have to go multiple times in a row. So this was actually exciting to me. This was, I don't know that I would have put it like this at the time, but this was my alternative to dating. Like, I'm just going to go to lens crafters. I'm going to have these weekly appointments trying to take care of this eye with a new lens. And it's just going to be like a date with science. And so I would go in and meet with Dr. Raj about once a week, and he'd have maybe a new lens for me or a new test. And I would read, try to read all of the letters and things like that. It's like, okay, I don't think this is the right lens. Come back next week. And we did this for about a total of 6 weeks. So 6 times together. And the timing there was great. It was like a cocoon of asexuality. It was just like there was nothing that was happening there other than a dark room in which I was reading letters, but I was still exiting to go into the world, this exotic, attractive world of New York City. Anyway, this last appointment, I get in there and we find the lens. We find the right one. And I'm reading that. I'm just getting, like, I'm nailing every single test he's giving me. I'm reading that bottom line. And we're finishing up, and he says to me, there's just one more thing I need to do. And so he moves all those appointments. I never figured out what this is called, and I know it's Googleable, but he moved the mechanism that you look into. And he sort of knelt down close to me, and he was about 5 inches from my face. And he said, look into my eyes. And he took his thumbs and he put them just on the bottom eyelids and just pulled them down a little bit. And when he put his very moisturized fingers on my face, I said, ugh. And he opened his eyes. Actually, I imagined his eyes were closed. They were still open. But it was like In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida was playing or something. I don't know. It was in a bordello all of a sudden. And he stepped back after he made that noise very slowly and said, I guess my fingers are very cold. And I said, that's okay. Keep touching me. Keep touching me. And he came back to continue this test of looking into my eyes. And my head just was swimming. And I was thinking back, I'd been, I don't know, 6-8 months since the last time I had had sex, since the last time somebody had touched my face or somebody had really gotten that close and looked me in the eyes. And I said to myself, oh my God, I just need to get laid. So I saw a few options here. I could go home and take this memory and this moment and do whatever I needed to with it. Or what if I just leaned in 5 inches and let our lips touch? Would he jump back and say, my God, I'm a doctor? Or would he walk and turn off the lights, and would we turn lens crafters into a bordello? And my head continued with this narrative, like, if I do this, if I lean in, I've never had a sexual experience with a man, but I thought maybe this is the change I need. And then I thought even further, like, if I do this, well, there may be an identity proclamation, and I need to call home and have that conversation. My mom's a very progressive woman. I don't think that she would be shocked if I said I was gay. I think she would be shocked that I said I was dating a doctor. And I was like, well, then all that news would spread. And everybody would be like, oh, Mark's gay, that's fine, but he's dating a doctor. He's dating a doctor. And I was like, yeah, what would that be like, dating a doctor? Because I've never even had a nice couch. And, like, besides yeah, I could adapt, but I could really adapt to something from West Elm. And all of a sudden, I'm remembering all these catalogs I would see in places like the doctor's office or the therapist's office or the optometrist's office of things I couldn't afford. And be like, it would be me and Dr. Raj, like leaving work and ordering these great pieces of furniture together. Man. So I decided to do option 3, which is I did not lean in, but I did go home and I did sign up for OkCupid. And I soon did get laid, and I soon ended up in another monogamous relationship. So all this happened a number of years ago. I don't know exactly what the point is, other than noticing that there are patterns that maybe I can't change, which I think could be growth. But here's something that did happen is soon, like maybe a year after this, I was walking down Court Street in Brooklyn, and about 2 blocks away from me, I saw a familiar face, Dr. Raj. And I did the thing that happens when you maybe see an ex for the first time in public, and you have this like these panic thoughts of like crossing the street. Do I make eye contact? Do I pretend that I don't see the person? Do I look at my phone? What do I do? And I made a confident decision that, you know what, I'm going to maintain eye contact. I'm going to look at him until he looks at me, and maybe we'll have a second moment here on the street. Who knows what'll happen? So I kept walking. We were about 8 feet away from each other, and his eyes finally meet mine. And then they move past mine, and he keeps walking. And I thought, you asshole, did this not mean anything to you? And I guess it didn't. Or maybe it did. Or maybe, who knows? Maybe there is nothing except that moment that made me realize what I can and cannot change. But there is something that I did do, and there is something that I have decided, maybe the biggest lifestyle change of all that I'm capable of. I've decided to stop wearing contact lenses. Thank you.
So about 20 years ago, my husband, David, and I were invited to his in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary. Now, this was his in-laws, Uncle Morris and Aunt Pearl. So Uncle Morris and Aunt Pearl live on Long Island. David and I live in Brooklyn, but they live on Long Island, and we're not really close to them. We don't really see them, like we hardly see them at all, and we don't really know them very well at all. However, I must say that Uncle Morris had a huge influence on David because Uncle Morris had been a high school science teacher, and he sort of influenced David to become a high school math teacher. So Uncle Morris is kind of this really kind, smart, sweet man, very generous of spirit, just a really, really lovely, lovely man. Aunt Pearl, on the other hand, she was a piece of cake, piece of work, I should say. She is kind of acerbic. She was a social climber. She always found fault with this and fault with that, and nothing was ever good enough. And the one time that we went to their house on Long Island, it was a small, modest little house, but it had like all of this high-end stuff in it, expensive drapes, expensive things on the mantle, dishes, all this stuff. So she was really sort of trying to move her way up. Okay, so anyway, it's their 50th wedding anniversary, and I'm thinking, well, what do you get people for their 50th wedding anniversary? Like, don't they have everything they could possibly need? What more do they need? She doesn't need more tchotchkes or anything. And then I remembered chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. Now, I'm from Colorado, and my sister Jessie and I, we used to make chocolate chip oatmeal cookies all the time. We used the recipe from the Quaker Oats box, and we loved these cookies. They were chewy and chocolatey, and we put extra oats in them, and our family just loved them. In fact, they loved them so much that we would make like double recipes. So I thought, oh, this would be a perfect gift to give them, like something heartfelt, something sort of homey, something that obviously I don't think anybody else would ever give them chocolate chip oatmeal cookies, and it would be a gift that would be really from me and David, a very personal kind of gift. So I made a great batch of chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. I put them in a plastic bag, and then I had bought this wicker basket, and I put the plastic bag full of these yummy chocolate chip oatmeal cookies in the wicker basket. It was a really pretty basket too. And I put a lid on it, and then I wrapped it up really beautifully and a ribbon on the top. And David had bought a really nice anniversary card. Oh, happy anniversary to you. And we were all set. We were very excited. So we drove out to Long Island to this little restaurant, and there were like Uncle Morris and Aunt Pearl's friends and some relatives there, and we sat at one of those tables, you know, like those round tables that you find at weddings, right? But we were enjoying all the people next to us, all right? So finally it gets to the time where they're opening up all of the presents. So the first present that they open up is a Baccarat cut crystal vase. This thing is like about this big. I mean, it must have cost $500 or $600. I couldn't believe it. Then the next present was like Waterford crystal glasses, wine glasses, right? Waterford, I mean, unbelievable. And then there was this French Lalique figurine, like this goddess. And Aunt Pearl's like, oh, we can put the goddess on the manteltop. It was so beautiful and lovely. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. She's going on. I'm sitting there staring at these gifts. These are really expensive gifts. And all I'm thinking about is chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. Oh my God. So finally, it comes time for our present. So somebody hands Aunt Pearl the package, and she takes the card out. Oh, Cynthia and David, and she looks over at us. Oh, Cynthia and David, thank you so much, thank you, and puts the card away, and then she starts opening up the package. And she sees that it's a wicker basket. So she kind of smiles. She takes the lid off the basket and she looks inside, and there's a plastic bag. She pulls out the plastic bag and holds it up, and she sees that it is cookies. And she looks over at me, and like these darts of like fire are like jutting out of her eyes, like boring into me, like telling me what an awful person I am, and what am I, like some artsy fartsy person, and how dare I insult them by giving them chocolate chip oatmeal cookies as a present. Oh, how insulting. And she looks at them again, and she puts the plastic back in, puts the lid back on, and gives it away. Gets the next present, opens it up. It's like silver carving set or something like that. So anyway, David and I finish our dessert at the table. Like nobody at the table now was even looking at us. They're all like turned away. They're so embarrassed for us. How could we have embarrassed ourselves so much? So we leave the reception and go home. All right, so cut to a couple of days later. I come home, and the little red light for the answering machine is on. Remember answering machines? Anyway, the little red light for the answering machine is on, and so I push the button to listen to the message, and it's Uncle Morris, and he says, Cynthia, it's Uncle Morris, and I wanted to tell you, I'm eating one of your chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. It is the best cookie I have ever had in my life. I have never had a cookie like this before. That was so sweet and kind and wonderful of you to give us this very, very special present. Thank you so, so much. He really made my day. And I have to say, I still make chocolate chip oatmeal cookies.
This is a story about the do's and don'ts of supporting someone in crisis. About 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of a history of sexual trauma. The first few weeks and months after that diagnosis were pretty rough. I went to a pretty bleak place in my life, and I will skip to the end and tell you that I am still alive right now. So things worked out a lot better than they could have. But it got scary enough that I decided that what I needed to do to take care of myself was to check myself into a psychiatric hospital. I wanted some kind of control over the situation. So I took myself to my psychiatrist's office. I explained to him the situation, told him what I wanted to do, and he explained to me kind of the things I needed to know about what to expect, how long I might need to be there, the fact that I might need to go on medication. And I listened to everything he had to say, and still at the end of it said, yes, this is what I want to do. So he called 911 for me, and I waited in his office for the ambulance to come. And eventually, 2 paramedics came in, and they took me into the elevator to go down to the street, head to the ambulance. And as we're riding down, the younger of the 2 EMTs looks at me and says, "Hey, do you mind if we go to a bar first?" And before I had a chance to respond, he says, "Kidding, I'm just kidding, haha." And I am like, I laugh because that's what I'm supposed to do, but I think to myself, why would you be making a joke to me right now? I'm going to the hospital. So he takes me into the ambulance, and I'm getting settled back there, and that EMT is back there with me, and he keeps making casual conversation with me, and I am in no place to be chatting with anybody, but I humor him, and he says to me, "So you're going to the psych ER?" And I said, "Yes." And he asked some questions, trying to get more information about why I'm going. And I just brush it off by saying, I'm just having some depression issues, and I hope that that's enough for him. And he won't ask any more questions. But then he says to me, "What's a pretty girl like you doing feeling so depressed?" And I was stunned because, first of all, he has no right to ask that question or to know the answer to that question. And second of all, what does my appearance, or rather his perception of my appearance, have to do with any of that? He was sexually harassing me on my way to seek treatment for sexual trauma. A lot of that night is a blur, so I don't remember how I responded. I just remember that he asked that question, and eventually he went into the driver's seat. The other paramedic sat in the back with me as we rode to the hospital, and he was much nicer. As we're riding, I text my husband to let him know which hospital I'm going to and to ask him to bring me a bag of clothes I had packed earlier that day and left in our apartment. When we get to the hospital, I go into the ER and I start meeting with a seemingly endless parade of nurses, social workers, all kinds of people asking me the same questions over and over again. It feels incredibly draining. But eventually, out of the corner of my eye, through a window, I see my husband come in. He's led to the room that I'm in. The nurse who's in there with me at the time decides to step out for a little bit, let us have some privacy, knowing that this is really going to be the only privacy we have for a while. And I realized that I'm still going to be able to talk to him on the phone, and I'm still going to be able to have visits with him, but the thing that I'm not really going to be able to have during this stay is close physical touch, and that's the thing I'm going to miss most. So I scooch over on the bed that I'm sitting on, and I pat the seat next to me, and he comes over, and he sits down next to me, and then we lie down together, and we talk a little bit, and then we don't talk, and we just hold each other, and it's a really loving, safe moment where I just feel really held. And a few minutes later, a nurse comes back and says, "You can't do that. You can't be sitting up there with her." So my husband has to come down, and we go back to talking like two people in a much more structured environment. I will say that this was the first of 3 occasions during my hospital stay when my husband and I were chastised for inappropriate touching. I'm still very proud of that. When you know someone going through a crisis, it is really hard to know what to do and what to say. I don't begrudge anybody for sometimes saying the wrong thing we've all been there. But I hope this story serves as a reminder that sometimes saying everything that comes into your head, asking every question that occurs to you, is really not the thing you want to do. Sometimes the much better thing is to just quietly hold space for somebody.